What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is part 2 of 3 for our LinkedIn on Autopilot series. And essentially, if this is your first time you're tuning into this video, this series of videos is designed to help you learn how to automate your LinkedIn. And by that, I mean you actually attach things to your LinkedIn so that it finds the people you want to connect with, it automatically messages them, and then ideally also schedules meetings with them. And so what this means for you is that you're going to automate some portion of your lead flow via LinkedIn, and you'll be able to completely alleviate the headache of checking in on your LinkedIn for at least the day-to-day ins and outs of connecting with people and slowly working toward a meeting with them. And so this is part 2. So part 1, all we focused on was batching the leads that we're going to be reaching out to in LinkedIn. It's a pretty easy watch, super simple video. This is part 2, where we're going to be focusing on what's the back end look like, right? How are we actually automating this? How are we creating this series of events that's going to happen in your LinkedIn so that it seems organic and human, and that you're also not upsetting LinkedIn, right? You have to stay within LinkedIn's rate and limits, which is incredibly important. Otherwise, you risk getting shadow banned and all this stuff. You do not want to have it to your LinkedIn account. And moreover, then there's part 3, which is going to be looking more in depth at the actual AI side of it. The conversion from initial messages to booked meetings. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, and so let's just jump right into it. So this is part 2, step 2 here. Again, if you haven't seen any of my videos, this is N8N. It's basically just a workflow automation thing. If you're not familiar with N8N, do not worry. You you just pull it up and you click and drag, and it's super, super simple. Especially if you're just following my rubric here. You don't even have to know what you're doing. You just put it in the same order, in the same way as I do, and bing, bang, boom, it should work for you. So looking at what we have here, the trigger is after step 1 right here. This is a sub workflow trigger is what it's called. And so if you remember at the end of my first video, if you're joining us after that first video, I had this sub workflow thing. And so you'll see that it accepts all data and that it is connected to this guy right here. So it's connected to my OIFG dash step 2, blah, 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 blah. So that means that after this runs and is scheduled and triggers and whatever, adjective you want to attach to that, or verb or whatever, then it triggers this flow automatically. So you don't have to go in and execute each flow. It's one after the other. Once that happens, which is on a daily schedule, this one automatically runs. And what this one does is it's actually going to scrape their profile, and then it's going to download the results of that scrape profile. And then it's going to make an intro message to them regarding some information that would be relevant on their scraped profile. Now, this system that we built was for a client that's using it for a hiring system, but you can transition this into a sales system, marketing system, or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The bones are the same. The output is different. And so whatever desired end results you want, you can build that within this system. But let's just go ahead and walk us through what this flow is. So we're starting with not scraped dash connected. And so if you remember again, all this is coming from our Google Sheets. Our Google Sheets is our database. It's our backbone of the entire system that we've built here. And so it's going to be scraped is empty. And so you'll see here that I have in my database section, because if you remember, everyone starts in database, and only once they've been sent a connection do they go into the in campaign. And so in database, I go over here and I see scraped. Yes. So if they've been scraped, then that means they do not go into this flow. That's what that means. Hang on. So it's a really good way to only make sure that it's a really good filter, I should say. So that when we're looking at large data sets, because sometimes you'll have thousands or tens of thousands of names in these sheets, you don't want to have to filter them out by pulling them first. You want to pre-filter. And so when you put something like this, where we're pre-filtering, so we're not pulling all 10,000 names that may be in the sheet, we're only pulling the ones that haven't been scraped yet. It really helps with the workload of these kind of workflows. You don't want to, essentially, you want to streamline everything as much as possible. But looking at this, you connect it to your outbound database. You go with database, not in campaign. You do scraped, bracket, quote, and bracket. Make sure it's in expression node 2. And of course, as we covered in the last ones, you just have to make sure that's connected to your service counter OAuth 2. And then we do loop. So the reason why we do loop is because with the attachment we're going to have downstream, which anything that's further from this, or sorry, upstream, this is downstream, anything that's upstream. So for our upstream nodes up here, they're going to be attached to something called PhantomBuster. And for PhantomBuster, it doesn't do batch processing, not that I'm aware of at least. And so we have to basically split out all the people in here. And so we split them out, and then we have it scrape, and then we have it parse, and then we have it create the message from there. Sorry, guys, there's probably a little bit of pause and dysynchronization in what I'm saying here, because was just checking some things on the back end. But anyways, so we filter, we then turn each person into a single individual item. So I can just show you how that looks right here, 34, and then we go here. And then we can see that in this loop branch, we have Cassandra Alfaro, and that's going to be the first person to process. But you see here that there's 34 items. And so all 34 people that go into this loop will be processed, and then they'll be spit out into the done. And a lot of times the done is going to be, a sub workflow of another thing. But essentially, then we go right here, we wait, and I have a random interval set here. And the reason why I have a random interval is to circle back around with the LinkedIn rate limits and the LinkedIn requirements. So LinkedIn, to be fully transparent, they do not want you automating your LinkedIn. They want it to be human-to-human connection because that's good for their platform. But what's good for us is to be able to leverage our time. And so I created this random number generator right here that it randomizes the amount of time that each lead will take to process. And so it adds because I guess I should back up. When LinkedIn sees that everything's happening, let's say in 30 seconds, perfect 30 seconds or a minute or whatever your time interval is, it starts to get suspicious. It says that looks like robotic movement, and I think that this is an automation happening and not a person. And so to fight against that, we put as much randomness into this flow as possible. And you just insert this JSON blob that all it does is takes 1 to 100 seconds, and it simply just, look, every time I click it, 35, 1, 97, 14. That's crazy that we got 1. We never get 1. It just gives a random number of seconds so that when we are running these workflows, that it's not doing exact intervals where LinkedIn might get tipped off that we're running an automation. So that's a level of security and safety. And then we do this is the HTTPS normalizer. And we have to do this because for our Phantom, which I'll show you guys in a second, for our Phantom, it needs HTTPS. And so we just write in this LinkedIn. We take the LinkedIn URL right here and we do the dot replace, and then we tell it what we want to replace. So that way it spits out HTTPS every time. Because if you see here, the LinkedIn URL says HTTP, and who doesn't like that very much? It's PhantomBuster. PhantomBuster does not like that very much. So we do that, and then we get our normalized with HTTPS, and then we scrape the profile. And so I'll go ahead and just do a whole new node for you guys, our whole new Phantom. So we go to our PhantomBuster, right? And then we go to LinkedIn profile scraper because we want to scrape these profiles and see who we're talking to. So let's just put in a random profile there. It doesn't matter. And then you connect to, oh gosh, I got to add one. Hang on. Or excuse me, I guess I have our business's LinkedIn attached here. That's fine because it's a new Phantom. Email discovery service, none. We're already gonna have the email. Profiles per launch. This actually doesn't matter. You can leave blank because the way we're doing this, we're doing it profile to profile. So it's only ever going to hit one profile at a time anyways. And so it doesn't really matter. Launch once and then advanced settings. This is important. Delete previous files. Because I say it's important. You can do this thing where you parse and do all that stuff, but it's just kind of like a pain. And you don't want to have to worry about that. So we just do one at a time and then we switch to JSON. And so now we have this. So we build out the infrastructure of what we want our JSON to look like because we're going to be putting this in this HTTP node right here. So we're going to be putting this in this HTTP node. And it is way simpler to just build out the JSON or to build out what we want in the form settings and then switch to JSON. So all we have to do is copy and paste this. So now I already have most of this built out. So I'm just going to pop into here and I'll show you. So, obviously you get your PhantomBuster key, which I'm going to change this after it. So feel free to take that if you want. It won't work. And then you're going to put in your Phantom ID first. And so this is going to be the whole JSON blob that we need here. You'll see here that most of it's included here, but a couple items are not. And that's why a lot of people struggle with the PhantomBuster HTTP requests because it's not, they just don't explain how to do it. They really don't. They're not help at all. And so you have to figure out yourself. So I'll go ahead and copy and paste this in a Word document too. There you go. So that we can kind of break it down here. So if you're looking at here, you have ID. The ID is something that you're going to need to add. And then under that, you're going to want to put your argument. This is your argument. So you can see here that all of these things that are included here are included here. So you basically do ID. That's the one thing that they don't add. So you have the bracket, the ID, and then you put the ID, which your ID is this. It's the second grouping of numbers in the URL. And so you take that, and you can see here that this is a new Phantom, so that's not the same. But I'll go ahead and take it and just replace it. And this is how I like to edit my JSON a lot. I like to take it into something like this. And then I just kind of can look at it all at once, zoomed out a bit. And then number of ads per launch, 1. That's fine. We left it blank here, but it doesn't matter. Enrich with company data, false. Push to CRM, true, which that also, none of those things matter. You just keep it as default settings. The one thing that matters is this. JSON spreadsheet URL. So that's the profile you're going to be pulling. You see here that it says, Brandon Simpkins, whatever. That's my business partner. But you need to actually code this with a mapped item, but it doesn't let you do this whole, it won't populate this unless you put in one. So that's why I put in just, a filler one. And then you actually substitute it and replace it with the mapped item. And then identities here. So the session cookies are incredibly important. And there's a lot of things we do in this flow to make sure your cookies don't expire because it's a whole pain in the butt when they do. So that's kind of just qualifies you as like, hey, this is that person. It links it to that person. And for the user agent, you just type in what is my user agent in Google. Like, watch, what is my user agent? Bing, bang, boom. It tells you, you just copy, paste it in there. 99% of you are going to be this exact user agent. So it's going to be the same thing. But anyways, then you go email chooser, none, blah, blah, blah. And then I can copy this. And I am going to actually save this node just so I don't have to redo it later. To just type it substitute. So I know that I substituted it so I can actually fix this flow because this is a live flow. So I have to remember to fix it. I probably should have just completely copied all this stuff, but it's totally fine. Anyways, and then I just copy and paste this in here. And we should, oh, I didn't save it. Shoot. I wonder if it's going to, okay, yeah, we're good. So we're running. That means everything worked and it's perfectly good. And now we have to wait for this to finish. And so, you can watch it connecting to Lincoln. So I'll talk for a second about what's about to happen next. And if it's not done, I'll pause. So next we have a timer. And this is a flat timer. You see there's no variance. The reason why is because all this timer is set up to do is to wait for the Phantom to finish. And I put in ample time. I put in about a minute, or exactly a minute, I should say. Even though the container ID generates immediately, the information doesn't actually generate immediately with that. So now we can go to, our results. We see person works at DoorDash, I guess. Quota crushing sales professional, blah, blah, blah. All these things. Okay. Anyways, they do all those things. This is about to be done here. I'm just going to pause and I'll wait for it to be. Okay, sweet. We're back. So, oh yeah, because I switched this to a new one. And so I have to do that. So then to download the settings, guys, all you need to do is, and if this is the API endpoint, all your API endpoints you can find on the PhantomBuster API docs. Just go PhantomBuster API docs, API right here. You go PhantomBuster API reference, and all of this stuff you need. Everything you need is in this beautiful dashboard that's incredibly annoying to navigate. So you do get, and then you put in this API endpoint, and we've gone over in our last video what those API endpoints are. And then you put in your container ID right here, which is going to be mapped in from the initial flow that's setting the stuff. And then you just put this in as well, just like, hey, this is my PhantomBuster API key. This is, I accept application to JSON, and then you can execute, and you can see that we get this. We get a bunch of an object, right, with a bunch of JSON in it. And so next, we then need to actually parse this JSON. And so now we take what was this, and now we get this, right? Company, industry, company, software, DoorDash, percent, blah, blah, blah. And so now we have all the information from the LinkedIn about this person. Super cool, right? Like super easy, super cool. And so then you have to do this very specifically. And so make sure you take notes here, pause the video, and write this exactly how it is. This needs to be object. And then this needs to be what we're parsing. And parsed, just type in parse. That's fine. Who cares? But you just have to type this in exactly. And that's how you get this result. And you need to make sure that this is exactly object. Anyways, and then we, what do I need to update here? Okay. And then you just go to here and you kind of update some stuff. I always just input the scraped profile into my database. So I have it there. so I don't have to scrape them again if something goes wrong upstream or in another flow. So there it goes. And then we go to the intro message. And so in this intro message, we just put the context, which is going to be uh, the entire parsed object. And then you also map in the candidate's first name, title, and company. So you just give it all the information, and then you basically tell your AI what you want it to do. And this one is, write a compelling LinkedIn message, thanking them for connecting, point out what they notice on their profile that would make them a good fit. You don't have to be super exact here. And I will say that the AI component, it's dynamic. It's a living, breathing thing. You keep running it and testing it, and you see what works, and you learn from the mistakes of the AI in the past. And so kind of how like they train the AI, you almost have to train it like manually. There's whole time and entire workflows you can use to do it automatically, but that's, I like to have the human component into these things. But nonetheless, you just continue to work at your messaging, at your prompts. You continue to work your prompts, and you continue to alter them and adjust them, and you see what's good. And maybe you even just talk with it for a little bit, and you just message back and forth with your AI here until you get some prompts that you are comfortable with. But nonetheless, this is kind of the outline. We mentioned something that we're familiar with the firm. We bridge it to the position, what the position is, how we are all about lead gen, growth, career growth, high payouts, things like that. And then that's the task, right? This is what I wanted to do. And then I give it rules, and I say output only, no other texts, tone, personable and Spartan, use first name only, abbreviate company when possible, and then strict rules. No EM dashes, what those are, those little dashes that ChatGPT loves to put in there. After writing a response, scan to remove any EM dashes. I kind of say just don't do EM dashes like 10 times, because whatever, I don't know what is wrong with ChatGPT, but it fucking loves those things, man. It cannot get enough of EM dashes. I swear if ChatGPT was allowed to make its own rules, it would say, I'm just going to type all this in EM dashes and binary, and that's how it would live its life. But anyways, and this is the system. So the kind of the outline, guys, is you go system, user, user. The system is the general, what are you for? You're a helpful, intelligent recruiter for a life insurance firm. You tell it what the firm is, blah, blah, blah. And then user is, what it is actually going to be doing. And then the second user is the actual context for the task in the system. So then we can just go here and we can execute the step and see how it does. And I'm doing GPT-4.1 mini, guys. But anyways, let's check this out. Hey, Cassandra, thanks for connecting. I noticed your strong background in full cycle selling and pipeline growth at DoorDash, which really stands out. Your experience as a merchant success manager there shows you know how to build and maintain client relationships in fast-paced environments. At IFG, we focus on helping agents like you grow their book of business with proven lead gen strategies we will teach you. We also support your career growth with industry high payouts we haven't seen matched elsewhere. If you're interested, I'd love to share how this role can help build your sales expertise and help you achieve even greater success. Looking forward to chatting. Best, John. Not bad, right? Decent. Of course, it can be better, but it's also you train this specific AI to tailor to the message you want. For a recruiter, you might want to be a little bit cornier, a little bit cheesier, a little bit more upfront. If you're doing sales, you probably want to be a little bit more rapport building, a little bit softer touch. But it just depends. And then you go here and you just update it, right? So it goes into the icebreaker, blah, blah, blah. And then we wait just 5 seconds. And I like to save the message two places. So one, it saves into the icebreaker column on the data sheet. And then next, this is where we're actually moving everything into the campaign for this person. So now this entire person is getting moved into the campaign. I'm just going to go this, which is fine. So I go execute step. And now that person is right here. Cassandra Alfaro. We got the message right here. We got everything. We got our timings right here. Now they're good to go. And so why that moves them into the campaign is the next question. So we covered one PhantomBuster, right? We covered one Phantom. I showed you how to do it. But let's cover the next Phantom. The next Phantom would be the connect and send follow-up message Phantoms. And this is going to be the quarterback of your entire workflow. And so with this Phantom, it does most of the work. So we basically are just going to add the Google spreadsheet. So, and I'll just show you one that I already built out just to make life a little bit easier. Dashboard. Okay. And this is fine. This is just one of sessions, cookies expired, whatever. So that's the JSON. We don't need to see that. So all you do is you go into your Google Sheets right here. You know, the one that is the in-campaign one. You go to share. Then you go anyone with a link, and then you copy the link. And then that copied link is what this is right here. And then from there, you go to the name of the column containing profile URLs, right? We know that for us, that's this one, LinkedIn underscore URL. So we just put that in, right? Go ahead and save. You connect it to whichever, you know, whoever you want, right? Whoever it's going to be. And then you type in your first message. If you want to do generated messages for this, this is the, so when you're connecting on LinkedIn, guys, you know how you can like type in a quick little message. It's like, hey, yo, saw your blah, 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 would love to connect. And so they get a message along with the connection. You don't have to do that. Not necessary. You can just connect. I find it's nice to give them some context so you're not, so there's at least some expectation with the connection. So they know the kind of the context of what we're talking about. So, because people get upset sometimes when you connect and then you just try and sell them or you just try and recruit them. So just be straightforward with them. Just be upfront and tell them a little bit about why you're trying to connect with them. If they're interested, they'll connect, and that way you have a much warmer lead. If they're not interested, they're just not going to connect. And that way you're not wasting your time. They're not wasting their time. No one's going to get upset. And it's just a safer method of doing things. And then after that, you do the first message, which the first message is the one right here that we curated together. We created, guys, and that's the ChatGPT message. And it just, you just map it to the, right, it's message underscore one. So you see we mapped that in there. I wish we could preview. It'd be nice to preview, but it doesn't have that option. And then we just go, you know, you can create, again, customize ones, customize follow-up messages, right? And you don't even have to do them inside this Phantom. You can do them in a secondary Phantom. I just did generic. Because it was just easier that way. So, because some of this is, guys, is creating the least amount of friction as possible. Because with less friction means you can do more things more productively. And also with the first message being relatively personalized and researched and thoughtful, the second message kind of just is, you can get away with generic and making it still seem like it was you that sent it. The third message I may recommend, it does depend. It depends what you're, like if you're doing like a sales associated thing, I would recommend probably doing a more personalized approach. But with recruiting, it's, you just get the information out there. If they're interested, if it sounds like a good offer, they're going to message you because it's going to benefit them. Um, so if you're doing it for sales, you'll probably want to do a different rotation. But anyways, these are the 3 message follow-ups. I think you can do one more maybe, but you don't want to do any more than 4. That much is for sure. You limit it at 15. Stay within LinkedIn rate limits, and that's it. And then, it automatically does this thing. You see it's got, invited, accepted, follow-up, sent. The accepted, it's broken. I don't know what's wrong with it. The people have accepted. And then these are the people that replied. And so that is how you set up that Phantom. And for that one, it's nice. You don't have to do any of the HTTP nonsense that we were doing before. And I am just going to sub this out, actually, while I remember. Okay. I guess I could just not save it, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm reaching for a coffee that's not there. So that is the step 2, where you scrape, you make custom messages, you put them in the campaign, and then they're on their way. And let me think real quick. I'm going to pause, guys. Yeah, I was just going through my mind of what I should cover on the next video for you guys, but I think this is good. This is good for this video. We made real ground here, right? Because now, at the end of this video, you you're 90% of the way there. You're able to find the people you want from the first video, be able to put them into a list, get all their information, and then in this video, we make it so you actually are able to connect with these people on LinkedIn. You're able to basically make an automation that scrapes their profile, that makes initial messages, and that's able to connect with them. So you could stop right here if you really wanted to. You don't have to go any further. You've already finished the main benefit of this. But in the next video, if you care to watch it, in the next video, we'll be going over the message routing so that when people respond to you in LinkedIn, we can look at that message and we can say, is this person interested, not interested, or do they have a question? And if they're interested, we can use that context to book a meeting automatically. If they're not interested, we tell them to go fuck themselves. No, I'm kidding. We just politely say, hey, things change. I understand. It's all good. Happy to just be a connection and a resource, blah, blah, blah. Something, whatever aligns with how you like to deal with those, or don't even message them back. It's totally up to you. And then if they have a question, we could do one of 2 things. Either we just have something update us, just say, hey, someone has a question, go check your LinkedIn, right? Just send it yourself an email. Or we can actually train an AI on your offer, and so that you have an agent that's able to converse with this person. That second option is extremely risky, and I think probably against some sort of LinkedIn guidelines. But nonetheless, you can totally do it. I don't personally do that one just because it's not, I have enough bandwidth to respond to LinkedIn messages on my own. But it can be helpful to, let's say if you have a product or offering or service or whatever, just to do a bare minimum single reply situation and then just ask them to book for more information. That can be helpful because it takes a lot more effort and training to actually get one that's able to converse. So just having one that reads the message, and let's say they have a question about say, hey, how much does it cost? And you told the AI how much it costs. And so the AI can just be like, yeah, it costs this much. If you want more information, please book a meeting, send them a booking link. But nonetheless, I'm kind of trailing off. I'm kind of rambling here at the end. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. I know it took me a long time to figure out all this stuff. And so if you guys appreciate all the time and energy I put into this and just to share with you and give it away for free, I would appreciate a like and subscribe. It would really help me. We're trying to grow this channel. I say we, me, I'm the face, but my partner is just as much involved in creating this stuff as I am. So nonetheless, guys, like and subscribe so you can catch part 3 where we go through the inbox routing and all that stuff. And if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just let me know. Either way, till next time. Cheers.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.